John Gottman is a psychologist whose work revolves around relationships and marriage, and today we're going to talk about 5 things he teaches that make us have healthy relationships. The first tip would be to ask your partner big questions such as what is your definition of love? How do you think about love? What would you like your partner to be like, basically? Seeking for feedback from them for how you're doing on that aspect, whether you're actually managing to satisfy their needs in the way that they want to have them satisfied. And these questions are great because especially the one, for example, with how you define love, gets you to know your partner on a deeper level. Knowing, for example, what your partner likes for breakfast or what your partner's favourite colour is, that's all good, but that doesn't really get you to understand your partner on a deep level, as in their mentality and how they feel. And then the second tip would be to show admiration, not only to admire them, but as John Gottman emphasises, to actually show them with the actions you take how much you admire them. And you want to do this a lot because of our negativity bias. We human beings unfortunately tend to focus more on the negative side of things, simply because our brains are actually kind of made for us to survive for the sake of surviving. It's really great that we notice negative things immediately if we, for example, notice a tiger or a lion immediately so we can run as quickly as possible. However, for being happy, of course, the negativity bias isn't that helpful. And especially not when it comes to relationships if you always focus on your partner's flaws. In fact, the negativity bias is so strong. For each criticism you say, you want to make sure that you at least tell your partner 5 other positive things in order for that relationship to work. And then the third thing John Gottman teaches, what he calls the 4 apocalyptic horsemen. The reason why they're called that is that these 4 things lead to marriages ending the most. And those would be stonewalling, defensiveness, criticism, and the worst one of all, contempt. So basically what is meant by stonewalling is basically just ignoring your partner, or just simply not responding to them, or just closing up. Whereas defensiveness is, for example, if your partner accuses you of something, or what do I know, feeling like you always have to defend yourself, feeling that you're always kind of attacked. That is very dangerous for relationships. And the reason why, as I've mentioned, contempt is the worst of these 4 is that contempt makes you look down on the other person. And of course, if you look down on the other person, then obviously your marriage isn't going to last very long. And then the 4th tip, John Gottman often talks about kinds of bid for connections. For example, someone asking you a question or trying to do something for you, hoping that that's something you'll like, or doing something to make you feel happy. Things like that is what he calls bid for connections. And if you want a healthy relationship, you want to make sure that you actually respond to those bid for connections. And then the 5th one is that he talks a lot about how you can manage conflicts better. And some of the things he suggests is that when we're in a conflict, or when your partner has done something that you're not necessarily okay with or that you disapprove of, not thinking, as probably most people do, oh, that person hates me, that person is just an idiot, or things like that. Of course, those aren't going to lead to a healthy relationship. Instead, when your partner does something wrong, give them the benefit of the doubt. And instead of thinking that it's because of who they are or how they feel about you, just thinking that, okay, maybe that person is just in a bad mood because that person has had a bad day. What most people tend to do is just point their finger at the other person, tell them everything that's wrong about that person, and tell them what they find wrong about them, which obviously isn't the way to go. Instead of pointing out your partner's flaws, you want to describe your own needs and express why you have these needs and why you want that, and not make it about how bad the other person is, because that way they then don't feel attacked and they actually are able to understand where you're coming from. And what really helps in conflicts with many couples, it's that they actually don't listen to each other, they probably even interrupt each other a lot, and they don't listen to each other because they're just thinking about their point of view and what they want to say next, instead of interrupting the other partner or thinking about what you want to say the whole time. Just listen without bringing your point up until the other person has finished talking. And then basically you take turns, and then it's your turn to bring up your point of view, and the other person just listens to you without bringing up theirs again. And then you can find a way to make compromises. Now, if you want to know more about how to have healthy relationships, you can watch this video by Matthew Hussey.